Back there, come on up. Oh, yeah, stay back there. Stay back there. Are we live? Okay. All right, I think we're live, so we're going to get started.
Yeah, we don't have any of these tonight.
Okay. All right. Are you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2023 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2022, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams? Here. Wright? Here. Mr. DeLuca?
Here.
Ms. Engel?
Here.
Mayor Daffis?
Present.
Whereas Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975 commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire of the governing body to comply with the provision, this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. Please join us. Salute to the flag.
United States of America. Just stands one under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to our last meeting for 2023. It is December 19th, and this meeting is hybrid, as we have been the past few months. We welcome those who are here with us in person. Special night. We're going to be honoring our dear Township Attorney for the past 30 years, Mr. Roger Desiderio. Let's give him an applause. – 30 years of distinguished public service. We'll get into all of that in a little bit. Mr. Desiderio, thank you to Mr. Desiderio's family for joining us. It's wonderful to have you in person. We also welcome those who are with us online, and we will get to public comment shortly. We have no proclamations tonight. We're going to get right into boards and committees. Our first agenda item, we will be appointing Mr. Andrew Howell to the Environmental Advisory Committee, and then we will segue into our first of two public comment periods. So we usually have two public comment periods. The first one is for agenda items only, and the second one at the end of the meeting is for any topic. In light of those who wish to speak up tonight about current events, I'm going to do what I've done before and be courteous and offer folks to speak about anything during the first public comment period. And I will set the rules for that as soon as we get to it. All right. Then we will have our third public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Palmer, for being with us about our CDBG grant, constructing ADA compliant curb cuts in various public intersections within the township. That will be led by our community development director, Ms. DePalma, who's with us. Welcome, Ms. DePalma. We have no new ordinances to introduce on the last meeting of 2023. That makes sense. We will segue into our administrative reports. We follow the same order. We will begin with the Township Administrator, then Township Attorney, Mr. Desiderio, followed by our Township Clerk, Ms. Fritzen. Reports from elected officials. The order tonight is Deputy Mayor Engel, followed by Committee Member DeLuca, followed by Committee Member Adams, followed by Committee Member Kripe. I always go last as the chair. We have 3 discussion items tonight. Committeeman DeLuca will be leading us through the demographic study of membership on our various boards and committees. We will then vote on the community host agreement that we proposed to Bud and Leaf Delivery LLC. This is a local resident who has applied to be a Class 6 cannabis delivery licensee within the township. Their application was approved at the last Township Committee meeting, subject to the mutual execution of a community host agreement. We'll be looking at that tonight. And then we have a discussion by Deputy Mayor Engel about our 2024 pool fees. And that's exciting because we're moving in the right direction about making our pool truly a community pool that's open to all and affordable to all. And then we have a consent agenda. The consent agenda has been previously published, as the rest of the agenda has. I want to note that we have with us tonight our new township attorney who will be taking over for Mr. Desiderio, Jennifer Credidio. Welcome, Jennifer. There you are over there. Welcome to Maplewood. We're delighted to have you. And that brings us to our second public comment period. And then we will adjourn and meet again the 1st of January, our annual reorganization. All right, so let's get things started. I start the meetings with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we live on stolen land, that the land we now know and occupy as New Jersey has been the home of the Lenape people for thousands of years, and that we offer our respect to the Lenni Lenape tribal nation, collectively the Lenape, and recognize the forced diaspora of the Delaware tribe and the Delaware Nation of Oklahoma and the Stockbridge Muncie community of Wisconsin, and acknowledge that the municipality was built on this small portion of the Lenape-Hoking. We honor the Lenape in New Jersey and elsewhere for their environmental sustainability and their cultural resilience throughout our nation's history. We firmly commit ourselves to promote the well-being and growth of New Jersey's indigenous communities and to provide opportunities for indigenous peoples in our community in housing, economic mobility, employment, and cultural or artistic opportunity. Thank you. And before we move over to our board and committee appointment this evening, I just want to acknowledge, and I hope you'll join me in a quick moment of silence. We lost a dear friend here at Town Hall, someone who gave nothing but love every single day, unequivocally, and who helped us get through some tough times, who made us laugh, who calmed us down. Our dear, dear golden retriever, Gemma, our loyal companion and the loyal companion of our township clerk, Ms. Fritzen. So let's just take a moment for Gemma. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome, Ms. Fritzen. We'll allow you to make remarks during your report as you wish. We miss Gemma.
I'm good.
Okay, so boards and committees. I don't see Mr. Howell here with us.
No.
Is he present?
He's not able to attend. He wasn't going to be.
Okay, he wasn't able to attend. So I move that is he with us online or he's not?
Not able to attend, but can I?
Please.
Mr. Howell is excited to join the Environmental Advisory Committee. He got his toes wet working with Mr. DeLuca on a different project and has met with Mr. McCoy, our chair, and he's excited about the good work our Environmental Advisory Committee is doing. And I nominate that I motion that we appoint him to our Environmental Advisory Committee.
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Croy,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Howell, for volunteering to serve the public in this important capacity. We look forward to working with you. Okay, public comment. As I said, for any agenda item, I'm going to let our administrator, Mr. Wary, administer public comment, but let me say the following first. We are opening up our first public comment period to any item. We are limiting public comment to 3 minutes. We're going to enforce that tonight to the best of our ability, only because we recognize that there may be significant public comment and we want to get to everyone. We want everyone to be seen and heard. We will offer public comment as we do in person. We start with in-person public comment and then we move online. Please note the following. It is our policy, and again tonight, the Township Committee will not be engaging in back and forth dialogue during the public comment. The TC will be offered the opportunity to make remarks after the conclusion of public comment and may refer to those directly who offered public comment. For those who are going to be making comments publicly about the Middle East conflict, I reference our recent resolution that this space, this beautiful building, and this governing body continues to foster and make available this room and online now a safe space for differing opinions. We welcome open dialogue. We don't silence our residents. We don't silence our committee members. We encourage, during public comment and dialogue, respect and civility. We can disagree. Let's just not go after each other. We discourage personal attacks and any conduct that may be perceived as threatening or aggressive toward anyone. Threats of violence will not be tolerated. Disorderly conduct will not be tolerated. Disruptions of the meeting will not be tolerated. Such conduct is not advocacy. It's just a disruption and chaos. Mostly, we ask folks to choose their words carefully, as I myself have learned to do better recently. Consider the existing harm that folks are feeling out there throughout the world, and especially right here in our community. The existing Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. So choose your words carefully. Do not use slogans that will further harm folks. Again, we're not here to harm. We're here to speak to each other and hopefully through our dialogue, connect and connect better. So with that, Mr. Wary, you have the distinction of administering public comment. I will offer those who are here in person the opportunity to speak first about any matter. So are there folks in here with us who wish to speak? Come on up to the mic. Please introduce yourself. Welcome again. And let us know what you want to talk about. Is that on?
It's lit, but.
It's lit, but it's not on.
Okay. Thank you.
Better?
Much better. Thank you.
Sabila Abelsood, Maplewood resident. First, I would like to thank the committee for passing the resolution at the last meeting on December 5th. I appreciate that the Maplewood Town Committee unequivocally condemns anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Second, I'd like to personally thank committee person DeLuca for stating that not being a fan of Netanyahu and his right-wing government does not make him or anyone anti-Semitic. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement, and I echo the same sentiment that being able to criticize and debate Netanyahu, his right-wing government, the occupation, apartheid in Israel, are democratic liberties that we proudly exercise in the United States with no intention of being critical of Judaism or Jewish people. Third, I do want to address some of the comments that of the responses to the last public commenter's demand for a ceasefire. Some of the comments made dismiss the civil losses now at about 25,000 as a consequence of Hamas using innocent civilians as human shields. This is not only so dehumanizing of Palestinian life, but it itself is a right-wing talking point. We're making progress here, and I urge this committee to consider the efforts that are being made to recognize the Arabs and Muslims in our community, via the resolution, via these kinds of conversations, to avoid dehumanizing Arabs in that kind of conversation. When the Soma community calls for a ceasefire, it's for the purpose of saving innocent civilian life, which is in grave, grave danger. Gazans are not only dying from the indiscriminate bombings, but they're dying of starvation, dehydration, infection. We also call for the release of hostages. Hostages were released when there was a ceasefire, and we need more of that, and we need it permanently. No one here is advocating for, no one who's calling for a ceasefire is advocating for Hamas. We're advocating for innocent civilians. We're demanding that there's a ceasefire because our tax dollars are funding war crimes. I have several quotes. I don't know if I have enough time here, but, President Biden is starting to criticize Israel for their indiscriminate bombings, saying that Netanyahu must change. Micah Sherrill just signed a letter with her concern to Biden about Netanyahu's military strategy in Gaza. I'll kind of go through it quickly, but basically saying, we urge you to continue to use all of our leverage to achieve an immediate and significant shift of military strategy and tactics in Gaza. The New York Times Gaza poll released today said that 3/4 of the respondents think that Israel are not taking enough precautions to avoid civilian casualties. The world is seeing this. The world is calling for a ceasefire. The UN Security Council, the General Assembly had 2 emergency meetings last week. So listen, we, the people of the United States, we're demanding a ceasefire. And I hope that you understand why we call and we bring it to your attention. Do you understand that it's because we value human life, and that's it. We just value human life in all of its forms. And those of us that are calling for the ceasefire, we're trying to be on the right side of history, and that's why we bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Powerful and clear. Other members of the public here in person who wish to engage in public speaks? Anyone? Please. We'll give you a minute to catch your breath. Anything you need to do to be comfortable. Almost anything.
Glad you modified that.
Yeah.
Hi.
Welcome.
Well,
Please let us
thank
know
you.
who you are and what you'd like to speak about.
So my name is Dana Luciano. I am from Maplewood. And I wanted to thank Township Committee member Jermaine Kripe for addressing the Ceasefire Sunday rally this past Sunday, urging a ceasefire and humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza. I stand with Ms. Kripe in her desire for an immediate ceasefire in light of nearly 20,000 deaths in Gaza at this point, 70% of them women and children, and the displacement of 1.4 million Palestinians from their homes. Now, it is fair to say that not all Maplewood residents agree with this position. Some who have deep cultural or even familial ties to Israel believe that Israel is justified in carrying out this war on Gaza. However, passionately, I differ in this position, and I do. I respect their right to hold it, and I believe most of them would respect my right to hold my own opinion as well as Ms. Kripe's right to speak at the event. Unfortunately, a very small but vocal group of our neighbors does not respect that right. Ms. Kripe may have heard, actually all of you may have heard at this point, denunciations, even calls for her resignation from Township Committee simply for having the temerity to speak out at that rally. Most recently, some members of this very small group have posted a YouTube channel based on stolen videos of the rally, accusing everyone of being Hamas supporters. This group has set themselves in opposition to the constitutional rights to freedom of expression and freedom of assembly, and have harassed, doxed, threatened, slandered, and otherwise bothered community members whose political positions vary from their own, based in part on the false weaponization of claims of anti-Semitism in the movement for ceasefire. Now, make no mistake, anti-Semitism is a real and a growing problem, from the vile graffiti written on a hall at Columbia High School last week, where my own Jewish child is in the 10th grade, to the murders carried out at synagogues by men espousing white supremacism and replacement theory. But expressing opposition to the policies undertaken by the Israeli government, both now and for the past 75 years, is not anti-Semitic. Attending a rally and calling for a ceasefire is not anti-Semitic. The claim of anti-Semitism that is often charged in the slogan "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" is not, in fact, anti-Semitic. It is not a Hamas slogan. It has deep roots in Palestinian culture for decades before the formation either of Hamas or of Likud, the extremist Israeli party that also adopted a version of that slogan. It is upsetting that the mere expression of a desire for freedom by Palestinians could be taken as a call necessarily for genocide. There are many ways that Palestine can be free entirely nonviolently. I want to be clear, again, opposing the actions of Israel no more makes one anti-Semitic than opposing the actions of Donald Trump made one anti-American. The latter, of course, has been claimed for all sorts of repressive purposes, and many of those who've done so are now weaponizing the former claim as well. Indeed, the increasing collusion between these two false claims betrays their partisan, deliberately divisive, and anti-democratic purposes. I ask the Township Committee to stand with us in our affirmation of the rights of freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, the need to remain vigilant against both anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and racism where they do threaten, and the right of all people to live in peace. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public here in person who wish to engage in public comment? Please. Welcome. It's good to see you. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nada Alzabi. I'm a Maplewoodian long time ago. I've been in Maplewood for 25 years and recently moved to Union. And actually today, the 19th, I signed the contract for the house. So it's like a 1 year. I can't believe it's already a 1 year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm here today. I don't have a speech with me. I'm just going to speak from my heart. The community in Union, in the Islamic Center of Union County, which I'm part of it, 75% from Gaza. And I cannot express, like the sorrow, like the mourn, like the status that they are in right now is devastating for us. What is the guilt that the Gazan people has had in order to be, like treated this way? Every other day, I have to go to the mosque in order to give condolences for a loss. And it's not one or two or three. It's like by hundreds. Our families are large over there. I personally don't have any family in Gaza or in the West Bank. I'm originally from Nablus. My great-grandfather, sorry, was kicked out from his land, from our land, in the 67, and he has to forced to move out of to Jordan, and I guess that's why I'm here today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. He would be killed. So I want to hear from you. Why not cease the fire? Why carpet bombing on the civilians in Gaza? Why not go fight in the battlefield with Hamas? What do we have anything to do with Hamas? Like this is civilians. So if we are asking to cease fire, it's a simple request for humanity. These are people, they're human. If it is one of your relatives, and put yourself in the shoes, like what would you say about that? Would you say, no, don't cease fire and keep, like feeding them, like giving them our tax money in order to, to kill our people over there? I mean, I cannot express more than this. I mean, mashallah, like they did all the good talk. I'm not going to add to them. I just wanted to say, like, why not cease the fire? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nada. It's good to see you. Other members here in person who wish to speak? Going once, going twice. Okay, we will then allow folks who are joining us online to speak. Mr. Wary?
If any members of the public joining us on Zoom would like to speak, please raise your hand now and you will be moved into public portion. I am moving over Melanie Gershman. Ms. Gershman, you're now in public portion. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I have 2 points to make. The first, I just want to address the ceasefire folks. I think it's easy to say that we all want a ceasefire. We are peaceful people, all of us across the board. However, we have seen historically that Hamas does not honor ceasefires. While the ceasefire folks believe that they're asking for peace, they do so with the assumption that Hamas will participate in that peaceful time. But we have seen at least 15 times throughout history, and then every day of the most recent ceasefire, that Hamas will not cease fire. They continue to bomb and bomb and bomb. There are 100,000 Israeli citizens who have been displaced from their homes. There is an 11-month-old baby who is still in a tunnel somewhere. We have seen that Hamas will not cease fire and they do not value human life. Their doctrine seeks to destroy all Jewish life, and they'll do so at whatever means necessary. You can be on the right side of history when you actually understand history. And if Hamas puts their weapons down, there will be peace. If Israel puts their weapons down, they will die. This doctrine will spread everywhere. We have seen it historically. We have seen small inklings of it in our own town. And that brings me to my second point. It has recently come to my attention that Ms. Kripe recently spoke at a ceasefire rally in town. I'm not an opponent of free speech, regardless of how much I disagree with the content. What I am opposed to is that she proceeded to confidently spread disinformation while owning that she, quote, does not know a lot. She then made lots of uneducated conjectures about an extremely complicated global conflict with hundreds of years of history. She reduced Israel to some random country putting up a wall instead of acknowledging the extensive defense work that has to be done in the face of decades of terrorist attacks, both intifadas amongst other smaller events. I'm alarmed at the prospect of a town committee member, a person with power in our community, taking it upon herself to share biased and factually incorrect information in a public forum and in a town that has just this week had to address at least 2 anti-Semitic acts of vandalism. A month ago at a previous meeting, we shared with her that her unnuanced take on the crisis in the Middle East was ignorant at best and hurtful at worst. She seemed to understand that she needed to take time to better educate herself on the history of the region and the harm that oversimplification has on affected people all over the world. In the time since, she seems to have ignored the Jewish community and any attempt to understand both sides of the conflict. She has not shown any good faith attempt to connect with Jewish or Israeli town members regarding the history of the conflict or why things are the way that they are. She has consistently ignored the very real pain of our community. She has stood against unity and peace by using her position as a town representative to voice a one-sided opinion. Words matter, they cause harm. We have seen this past week. The endless stream of anti-Israel propaganda has culminated in real violence against Jews in the diaspora, including here. To propagate that in our town as a representative of the people is unconscionable, especially as local threats to our Jewish community continue to grow. I moved here because this is a bastion of progressive values and diversity. What I see now is a growing sentiment of anti-Semitism from town members who, per Ms. Kripe's own quote, do not have skin in the game, but who have a lot to say regardless and without any context and with a TikTok-based education in this war. I believe in 3 strikes. We've asked multiple times in good faith for Ms. Kripe to listen to us and to understand us, and she has not done so. My final request is for Ms. Kripe to engage with Jewish representatives in town so that she may unlearn some of the historically incorrect rhetoric that she has found herself repeating on December 27th and on other days, and so that she may stand on the side of peace and humanity. If she's unable or uninterested in doing so, then I strongly urge her to resign. She does not represent many of the voices in this town, and her seemingly endless capacity to tokenize Jews while indirectly calling for the destruction of Israel makes me fear for the safety and well-being of my family, my neighbors, and folks in this town. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your consideration, and thank you for your empathy.
Thank you for your comments.
I am now moving over Heather Soslavsky. Ms. Soslavsky, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you. I think compared to others, this may sound trivial, but I have some very local issues to bring up. I reside on Porter Road in the Lightning Brook neighborhood of the Hilton section of Maplewood. We are in desperate need of clear and preferably large signage regarding tractor trailers and semis. These large vehicles cannot safely travel south of Newark Way when they're on Rutgers. They have destroyed signs, damaged vehicles, damaged power lines, and proven time and time again that it is simply unsafe to allow them to traverse these very small roads that are down here. I would note that relatedly, if the no parking rules on the west side of Rutgers between Burnett and Newark Way were actually enforced, it would probably prevent this problem in some respects. It would certainly enhance safety. And I think it would likely result in trucks and tractor trailers using the spaces that their companies provide rather than continuing south on Rutgers. It would result essentially in an about face while they're on Newark Way if they use their own space and essentially turned around there. Today alone, there were two very large vehicles back to back carrying cars. There's a very large parking lot for them to be doing whatever they needed to do, but they were parked back to back on the no parking section, making it a lot more difficult and unsafe for people to pass that were going in both directions. It was morning time during school drop-off hours. Separately, but additionally, our neighborhood is really dealing with a lot of fireworks, and I'm not really sure how we get those laws and ordinances enforced, but they need to be. We have children here, there are veterans, people's pets are upset by it, people with sensory needs, as well as just everyone who needs peace and quiet and sleep. We deserve some level of enforcement. There are certain homes and sections that are just doing this incessantly. It's not July 4th. I think we all try to be lenient around then, but at some point, it's got to stop. And on another note, since I do have 3 minutes, but also another local issue, I really believe that leaf collection must change in our town. Flooding is terrible throughout our town. We've seen that this week. The leaves contribute to that. The cost and the time spent by DPW is extraordinary. I don't understand why residents aren't asked to bag their leaves for pickup or to drop them off at DPW in bags. And I recognize that some will find this controversial, but if you can ban leaf blowers, then you can require that leaves be bagged so they don't end up clogging up every place that water needs to go so that it doesn't go into our homes. Further, just to anyone watching, please, if you can, leave your leaves. It's good for your garden. It's good for your lawn. It's good for the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Slavsky. And I will have a response to the issue about the large trucks on Porterfield Road and on Rutgers and in the vicinity at the end of the public comment period, and about parking enforcement. Okay, next public comment.
I am moving over Tyrone to public portion. Tyrone, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Tyrone, and I'm following up on the tractor trailer problem that Heather spoke about. I'm not going to repeat everything that she said because I think she described everything that's going on great. My house is actually on the corner of, well, near the corner of Porter Road and Field Road, so I see multiple trucks come down that have taken out stop signs, almost hit cars, etc. So I just want to make sure that the town gets some signage up to stop trucks from coming down Field Road and trying to turn onto Porter Road, which is a very narrow street. The angle of the street is angled more towards one way than it is the other. So it's exceptionally difficult for trucks to try to go right. It's probably easier for them to go left, but nonetheless, they should not be coming down the street. And I look forward to hearing the comments, and hopefully getting some action as soon as possible with signage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm now promoting Nicole Kleinbaum. Ms. Kleinbaum, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, I'm not sure if you can see me.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Nicole Kleinbaum. I'm a proud Jewish Maplewood resident. I'm here to address recent statements made by Committee Person Kripe at a rally in South Orange. Ms. Kripe, you may remember that you and I were co-captains on the bus down to the Women's March in Washington, D.C. back in January 2017, where we marched and chanted all day in support of intersectional feminism. Not once in your speech did I hear you decry the murder, rape, torture, and kidnapping of innocent Israeli women and girls. I guess you were only marching for the rights of all women unless they're Jewish. In your speech, you said you hope that people get home because they deserve to live their lives. I didn't hear you say anything about the nearly 130 innocent Israeli civilians still being held hostage in Gaza, who would very much like to go home. Instead of demanding their release, which would be the best chance there is for a ceasefire, you chose to condemn the Israeli government for their response to the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. War is not pretty, civilian deaths are tragic, and yes, civilians will die because Hamas uses their citizens as shields. But these are the consequences of their actions. You characterized Israel as some random government that just showed up to claim land. Jews have lived in that land that is Israel continuously for thousands of years. When you called for a ceasefire, do you know that Hamas has stated they will repeat October 7th again and again? You said in your speech that you had no skin in the game because you didn't know anyone who had been impacted by this. Let me remind you that you have Jewish constituents and many synagogues in this town. Do our lives not count as skin in the game for you? You work at a church. You know how to contact the many Jewish clergy leaders in our town to educate yourself, to hear them and listen to the pain our communities have been experiencing. Those who cautioned you not to speak at the rally probably understood your limited knowledge of an incredibly complex issue at a fraught time for the community. If you're going to speak out about something like this, educate yourself. Don't stand up in front of a crowd, repeatedly state you don't know enough about what is going on, and then throw condemnations and Hamas talking points around as though you do know. You stated you, quote, can read and, quote, can see the news, so I encourage you to do so. You can get up and say whatever you want in front of a microphone. We live in America, not Gaza. In your position of power and influence here in Maplewood, there is an expectation that our community leaders are educated and knowledgeable about issues that have a real impact on our lives and safety in our community. At the end of the day, a Jew is a Jew, and Hamas wants us all dead. There's no peace with them. You parrot their talking points, you are associated with them and their agenda. When I told my children I would be here tonight speaking out against what you said, they were horrified and scared that someone in a position of power in our town would say these anti-Semitic things. I want you to remember that. Your words have power and consequences. I am here demanding you resign from your position on the Township Committee. You clearly do not represent the best interests of me or my family, nor the interests of Maplewood's Jewish community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm now moving over Lauren Levy. I'm now moving over Susie L.
What's happening?
The first attendee had declined to be promoted, so I promoted the second.
Can
Susie,
you hear me?
we can.
Welcome. Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Hello?
Hello again. Welcome.
Yes. Hold on. Let me get my. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. I apologize. Thank you for having me today. My name is Susie, and I would like to discuss the YouTube video that was shared, as you know, and Miss Kripe this past Sunday. I was a bit appalled by what I heard from her. This is someone that's supposed to be representing the community, and she has every right to speak what she feels is right, but spreading lies and misinformation is not only offensive to the Jewish community, but also very dangerous. With your lies, you haven't once even mentioned, condemned the terrorist organization Hamas for their atrocities on October 7th, or that Hamas is using civilians as human shields, or that they steal humanitarian aid from Palestinians, or murder anyone who speaks out against them. They need to be held accountable. This is not a right-wing speaking whatever that other person was saying. This is real. Like, there's videos of Hamas using GoPro cameras on October 7th so that they could show the world what they did. And if you really cared about a ceasefire, why not add that Hamas should surrender, put their weapons down, and return the hostages? Not once did you mention anything about the Israeli hostages. Do our lives not count? This is our family that are taking hostages. Our family. We are 0.2% of the population. So one person, one Jewish person, you know, it's like your family. I don't know how to explain it to you. But the fear that we have after seeing what they did is an attack on the whole Jewish nation. Do you realize that in this town, there are Israelis who are impacted directly by what happened that day? And that this anti-Jewish, anti-Israel speech you gave shows that you did not educate yourself as you claim. Have you reached out to any Jewish organizations, representatives, synagogues? I really don't think so. And the most hurtful, offensive, and insensitive thing you said, in my opinion, was you don't get to roll into someone's neighborhood and take their stuff and then get mad when they push back. Push back. You want to call mass murder, rape, torture, beheadings, burning alive, burning a baby in the oven as pushing back? Do you hear your words? Let's unpack the first part too, which is false. Israel didn't steal anything from anyone. And if you want to speak about Gaza, Israel left Gaza in 2005, gave it all for peace. Peace. What peace do we see? None. Israelis had greenhouses in Gaza for them. They burnt it all when they moved in because they don't want anything from Israelis. And then they appointed Hamas to rule them, knowing very well that their charter calls for the destruction of Israel in its entirety. Hamas's one goal is to annihilate the Jewish people, take the land all for itself. And there's no women's rights. Nope. There's no LGBTQ in Gaza either. They want an Islamic extremist country. This is not about land. This is their ideology that we're fighting here. And implying that Israel stole land from Palestinians is just wrong, anti-Semitic, and stating this does not help any side of the conflict. You're only fueling the words of Hamas. And Hamas probably thanks you for your support because that's what it's looking to do. It's using Palestinians for their cause and getting people to feel bad for them and give them more money so that their leaders can live their lavish lifestyles in Qatar.
Susie, can you hear us?
I hear you very well.
Okay, this is Mayor Dean Daffis, and you have gone way past the 3 minutes. I hate cutting you off or anyone, but we have to limit it to 3 minutes in order to get through all of the public comment. We encourage you to send us the rest of your statement by email, and we appreciate the time that you've taken to express yourself. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you giving me the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am promoting Mindy Greenspan to speak. Ms. Greenspan, you're now in public comment. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thanks. Hi. My name is Mindy Greenspan, and I've lived in Maplewood for 25 years. And I'm here to speak as a Jewish member of this community. And there have been several people who have spoken prior to me who have spoken as if the Jewish community here and anywhere in the world is monolithic. And I really reject that. I am proud of my Jewish heritage, my tradition and values, upholding the sanctity of all life. My Jewish heritage has longstanding roots in struggles for justice, equality, and freedom for all people. And this tradition predates the formation of the modern-day state of Israel. My identity and safety does not depend on Israel. Israel is a world power that is perpetrating the kind of oppression and violence on the Palestinian people that it was purportedly created to protect Jews from. There is an assumption and overwhelming consensus in this country that being Jewish equals blindly supporting the state of Israel. And if criticism is made, it represents danger to the Jewish people and therefore is anti-Semitic. This narrative is being promoted by the most right-wing, anti-Semitic, racist forces and is itself truly anti-Semitic in nature and dangerous. We've seen this consensus stifle and repress free speech nationally, and we are seeing it in our community with attempts to intimidate and punish those that stand up and voice opposition to the ongoing slaughter, starvation, and dehumanization of Palestinian people by the Israeli state with U.S. complicity. I'm here to speak in support of Township Committee member Jermaine Kripe, who has shown courage taking a stand for justice and freedom for Palestinians and for a humanitarian ceasefire to end the killing. She has done this against the threats and attempts of intimidation from members of our community who don't represent our stated values of diversity and inclusion, let alone American values of free speech. I don't believe that criticizing the Israeli government and wanting a free Palestine is anti-Semitic. As a Jewish person, I don't agree that Jermaine's participation in a ceasefire rally is in any way anti-Semitic, and I resent that a certain group of people in town feel entitled to speak for the whole Jewish community. You do not speak for me, and I say not in my name. Ceasefire now.
Thank you, Ms. Greenspan.
Thank you.
I am now promoting Ted Dorsett to public comment. Mr. Dorsett, you're now in public comment. You can unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Dorsett, you're now in public comment. You can unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Has he been converted over?
He accepted the invitation to come to the public portion, but has not unmuted himself. I can move him back while maybe he works on any technical challenges and move to another speaker if you'd like.
Please.
I'm back now. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome, Mr. Dorsett.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my raised hand. What I would like to speak on is the traffic situation in not just the tractor trailer situation coming down field to Porter, but the traffic situation, I want to say townwide, with what I like to joke about is optional stop signs. The intersection of Newark and Rutgers, I believe it's Rutgers. The big intersection on Newark. It's impossible to get through there without having an accident. There have been multiple accidents there, including one where a car has flipped over. People are being injured, but the whole area in Hilton, stop signs are, like I said, it's optional. People roll through stop signs. People don't stop. People don't understand that first come, first serve, basically, when it comes to a stop sign. If someone's there before you, they get to go without you just rolling through. And also, the stop signs are not right turn on red. So it's people need to stop and obey the laws. There are children, there are people, there are school buses in the mornings. Everyone's, yes, trying to get to work, trying to get to where they need to be. But all of these signs need to be recognized. I remember when they were putting the big intersection, the stop signs, the four-way stop at the big intersection on Newark. I'm sorry, not Newark. Well, Newark as well, but on Burnett and Rutgers is the major intersection that I'm speaking of. One person said that they didn't want a light, while everyone else voted that a light should be put there. But then we put stop signs, and I have numerous videos that I've sent to Kittner. I've posted on Facebook of people, just 5 minutes of video, just people just rolling through the stop signs. I mean, they're stop signs for a reason. The surveys have been done to slow down traffic, to stop people, but no one's abiding by them, and there's no one sitting and keeping watch over them. So where I'm saying that these need to be watched, or something needs to be done to stop people at these intersections because it's inherently dangerous. Something needs to be done with policing. Something needs to be done with signage. Something needs to be done in some way to slow these people down and stop them at the intersections. Someone's going to get hurt, even more so than already has, and where we're going to be. We're going to be at a death or an injury at an intersection where it could have been alleviated with signage or lights or something. But yes, there are multiple issues, including the tractor trailers that I recently I took a video of, where a tractor trailer came down, was hitting the tree, hitting wires to people's houses, and almost destroyed one of my neighbor's vehicles. Something needs to be done with signage, lights, better ways to police people not running stop signs, coming down streets in residential areas with giant tractor trailers. It's just very dangerous. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsett.
I am promoting Karen Kozar to public comment. Karen Kozar, you're now in public comment. You can unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I'm here today to shine light on the rising anti-Semitism in this town. Ms. Kripe's speech on Saturday was just the most recent example. We are seeing a growing trend of people shouting anti-Semitic rhetoric disguised as reasonable criticism of the Israeli government. When we, the Jewish community, label that bigotry for what it is, we are vilified, ignored, and gaslit. I'm not an anti-Semite, they say. I just condemn the Israeli government. And yet their reasoning for doing so is littered with propaganda, false information, distorted historical references, and calls for the full dismantling of Israel. I'm not an anti-Semite, they say, as they justify and celebrate the slaughter of our brothers and sisters. This group, the group Ms. Kripe stood in front of and said, "I'm on your side." They erase the complex multi-ethnic history of Jews, mislabel us settlers and colonizers, make Zionism the dirtiest word in their vocabulary. And you know what? Jews are used to it. We have always been the most hated thing imaginable at the time. We've been accused of killing Jesus, starting the plague, controlling the banks, being communists, the reason Germany lost World War I. What's the most hated thing you can be in 2023? Racist, colonizers. And so the mask of anti-Semitism has morphed again. And again, our history is being distorted to fill in the slot of the most hated thing imaginable. Ms. Kripe, why have you let down the Jewish community? Because you promised us you would educate yourself, but you failed to do the work. You did not own your unconscious bias. Instead, you found books and articles that confirmed your bias. After only a few weeks, you decided you have figured it out. On Sunday evening, you stripped the Jewish people of their historical connection to Israel. You called Israel some random country. You drew lazy parallels between a 3,000-year-old history and some foreign invasion of Soma. But I think the worst thing of all is that you called October 7th pushback. You said you can't be mad when they push back. October 7th was planned for at least a year. The target was civilians. It was an act of genocide. And Hamas has said they will do another October 7th again and again until every Jew in Israel is murdered. They said, and I quote, October 7th was just a rehearsal. Your statement of pushback not only lessens the horrific tragedy, it justifies it. That ceasefire you mentioned in your speech, the one from last month that you held up as a shining example of what Israel should do, Hamas broke that ceasefire 15 minutes after it started, and they broke it again and again and again. There is no spark notes for this conflict. The hubris of people to binge read a handful of articles and some books and to think they have it figured out. You promised us, the community you were elected to represent, that you would honor our history and our trauma. And then you broke that promise within weeks. Here's my ask of you. Recognize your unconscious bias. Meet the local clergy who I know have offered up their time to you. Do the hard work. Avoid the temptation of confirmation bias and rebuild trust with your community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm promoting Andrew Pattison to public portion. Mr. Pattison, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
All right, thank you. I will not be needing the full 3 minutes. Try to keep this brief. Hi, my name is Andrew Pattison. I'm here to speak in support of Jermaine Kripe. I'm a resident of South Orange, a Jew, and an attendee of the rally on Sunday where Ms. Kripe spoke. Her presence at that event meant a lot, not just to me, but to many members of her community. Knowing that as a public figure, she would immediately be targeted by the bullying and harassment campaigns that we've seen time and time again by those who wish to label as anti-Semitism even the slightest criticism of the actions of the Israeli government. Calling for a ceasefire is not anti-Semitism. Expression of solidarity by an elected official with members of her community who are hurting is not anti-Semitism. The idea that Palestinian people should have a free and safe existence outside of the borders that were forced upon them is not anti-Semitism. As a Jew, I resent that a faction of people has taken it upon themselves to weaponize an entire group's collected trauma and suffering into a way to shut down any idea that they do not like. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
I'm promoting David Letwin to public portion. Mr. Letwin, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thanks very much, everyone. I just wanted to say I'm a Jewish resident of South Orange. I've been here since 2017. And I just want to add my name to those who have spoken before me, who supporting Jermaine Kripe for her very proud participation in our ceasefire vigil on Sunday. And I also want to shout out to others who have pointed out, I think Dana Luciano alluded earlier to the fact that what we are witnessing here, the genocidal assault on Gaza that we are witnessing, isn't anything having to do with October 7th. It is an extension of 75 years of systemic Zionist racism, dispossession, dehumanization, and state-sponsored brutality against Palestinians. And I also agree with her when she said that the liberatory phrase, free Palestine from the river to the sea, is just that, a phrase of liberation. It is a call for a pluralistic society, the opposite of what the Israeli apartheid state is about. It's a call for everyone to be treated equally, regardless of their ethnicity or their religion. There is nothing anti-Semitic about it. And I can only conclude that those people here tonight and throughout the town, throughout the area, who slander this phrase and people who say these kind of things as anti-Semitic, I can only assume that they cannot refute the argument on the facts or on the morality. So they have no other option than to silence anyone who speaks out for justice by slandering them as anti-Semitic. And I also share, I think it was the previous speaker, the resentment I feel that enablers of apartheid Israel in this town have assumed for themselves the status of being the Jewish community, as if the rest of us who are Jewish and identify as anti-Zionist, we're not really Jews in their eyes. We're not part of the Jewish community. I hear people here have said, why has Jermaine Cripe not come to a synagogue? I've been living here for 7 years. No synagogue has invited anti-Zionist speakers to come and address their congregations to explain why we say things like free Palestine from the river to the sea, why we call for a single state with equal rights for everyone, why we oppose a regime that, in the words of Israeli historian Ilan Pappé, Israel is a state where the value of ethnic superiority and supremacy overrides any other human and civil value. Why are we never invited to speak? So I just want to, again, just end by saying that I am so proud in this town when I see the people who have come out, including Jermaine Cripe, to stand on the right side of history, to stand up for justice in the face of this relentless barrage of smearing and slander. And I hope that more people come out and stand with us on the ceasefire Sundays that we have and beyond, until there truly is a free Palestine with equal rights for everyone from the river to the sea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Letwin.
I'm now promoting Lauren Levy to public portion. Ms. Levy, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Hi. Okay, I just want to make one point. This is about the conflict that's happening right now. This is not a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan issue. Most of the people who are speaking on behalf of Israel and anti-Semitism are not right-wing. We don't live in a right-wing area. So this is not just about partisanship. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I'd like to address the cease rally that took place on Sunday, specifically in reference to Ms. Cripe's speech. Ms. Cripe, 2 months ago at a town council meeting, spoke out against Israel and referenced false information about how the government of Israel works, highlighting most notably by saying Pakistan several times instead of Palestine. When members of this community spoke to her about her statements, she apologized and promised to learn more about the region, its history, and the current conflict. On Sunday evening, Ms. Cripe incorrectly misspoke about Israel. But this time for her rhetoric wasn't just ignorant, it was dangerous. She stood in the middle of downtown South Orange and proudly condemned Israel, but didn't even mention Hamas once. Didn't mention the massacre, didn't mention the slaughter of babies, didn't mention that this was on civilians. She drew a false parallel between Jews and Israel to some random people coming into invading Soma. It's the diminutive approach to 3,000 years of history of land that has changed owners dozens and dozens of times. She framed October 7th as pushback. Let that sit with you. Pushback. Rape, torture, slaughter of innocent people. Targets of a terror attack that took at least 2 years to plan, that was GoPro'd and celebrated. She is entitled to her thoughts and opinions, but she's promised our community members that she would do her due diligence. I have reviewed the books and the articles and news sources that she referenced, but to be candid, she took the thread of confirmation bias and didn't let go. She supported her predetermined bias with more information that supported it and took no effort to learn from Israeli history of perspective. Her actions are fanning the flames of anti-Semitism in this town. Her rush to be enlightened after weeks of learning about a 3,000-year-old conflict is irresponsible. I ask if she has any interest in being a representative of this town, one that's beautiful, diverse, strong, and different, and a large Jewish community, then I request that she sits with a member of our town rabbinical clergy, perhaps several, do the work, unravel her conscious bias, show us that she is an ally and that she is the right representative for this town. And I just wanted to echo what one other member said about coming into our synagogues to have these conversations, and anti-Zionists coming into our synagogues. That doesn't really make sense. Anti-Zionists coming into our synagogues. Our synagogues are Zionists. We are a rooted people in history of Israel. So unless anybody would like to meet clergy members outside of our synagogues that are anti-Zionists, I just want to think about, I want somebody to think about that comment. Having an anti-Zionist come to our synagogue. I mean, that just kind of is an oxymoron. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Levy. So, Mr. Wary, how many hands up do we have?
There are 3 more members of the public with raised hands.
Okay, we are going to cap it off there with the 3 members who have their hands up currently. We welcome others to send in their statements to us by email. And we welcome folks who wish to comment tonight to do so at our next public comment portion at the end of the meeting. But we do have business of the township to get through as well. Important things that must be done tonight. So we're going to move on after those 3 people. Mr. Wary.
I'm moving over Michael Goldberg to public portion. Mr. Goldberg, you're now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good evening. I am Michael Goldberg, a 25-year resident of South Orange and former trustee in South Orange, where I proudly served for 6 years. I can say firsthand that the primary responsibility of every elected official is to make sure that all residents are safe and that all residents feel safe. I've watched the videos of the recent rallies and can say that the appearance and speech by Ms. Kripe in Spiota Park in my town of South Orange on Sunday did nothing to make us feel safe. And in fact, as a proud Jew and proud Zionist, yes, Zionist, I use that word proudly, not as a derogatory term, I can say it did the complete opposite. Saying you are on their side, quote unquote, to a group that has not once condemned Hamas and the atrocities of October 7th, where over 1,200 innocent civilians were murdered, burned, raped, or taken hostage, including many Americans, did not make me feel safe. And yet again tonight, not a single supporter has condemned Hamas. Saying you are on their side to a group that has called for the elimination of Israel, quote, from the river to the sea, did not make me feel safe. Saying you are on their side to a group that has not once acknowledged the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish democratic state in its current location with secure borders did not make me feel safe. saying you are on their side to a group that marched through our downtown calling to, quote, shut it down and harassing local businesses did not make me feel safe. Saying you are on their side to a group that literally called for intifada does not make any of us safe. If you're not aware, 2 intifadas occurred in Israel from the late 1990s to the early 2000s, and thousands of people were killed, often by horrific suicide bombings against civilians. This violence led to, in your words, quote, some random government putting a fence around where they live. But you know what? That attempt finally lessened the bloodshed. Understand, nobody is condemning the Palestinian civilians. We all empathize with the humanitarian crisis. However, Ms. Kripe and these groups need to understand the only path to peace is to call for the surrender of Hamas and for all hostages to be released immediately and for free elections to be held for the first time in 17 years. It's really that simple. That is the path to peace, not a quote-unquote ceasefire with a barbaric group of terrorists who have broken every other ceasefire ever given, including on October 7th. Vic DeLuca has rightly and unequivocally at the last meeting stated that the horrific situation is solely the responsibility of Hamas, which started this war on October 7th, and is accountable for every single death. He's absolutely right. Hamas is determined to destroy Israel and Western civilization and the values of women's rights, LGBT rights, democratic rights, environmental rights that we hold in such esteem here in South Orange and Maplewood. Allowing Hamas to remain in power will only continue the cycle of violence and continue to jeopardize the safety of everyone, including all of us here in Soma. That is the side you should be on. As a South Orange resident, I cannot comment and will not comment on what Ms. Kripe's future should be. I leave that to the voters of to the voters of Maplewood and her colleagues. I thank you for your time and have yourselves a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg.
Seizure, you're now being promoted to public portion.
Inda. That would be Inda Scherzer.
Sorry. You are now in public portion. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, looks like I'm unmuted. But not getting a picture, so maybe I won't bother with that. It looks like it's backwards. I'll stop the video. Hi, I am Inda Sexer. Good evening. I request that Ms. Kripe resign her position on our township committee. Township officials have every right to attend rallies and public events, but it is unacceptable for a town official to speak publicly in support of a group that advocates for a terrorist organization and chants for genocide of Jews. Ms. Kripe's apology last month was apparently disingenuous. Ms. Kripe is calling for a ceasefire. There was a ceasefire through October 6th, which was broken on October 7th by Hamas perpetrating atrocities in Israel and taking more than 200 hostages. I have never heard Ms. Kripe condemn the barbaric atrocities by Hamas on October 7th. In her speech at the rally, she referred to October 7th as, quote, pushback. Really? Atrocities are now just pushback? A ceasefire with Hamas will cause more October 7th type genocidal attacks, as is the stated intent of the Hamas leadership. Calling for a ceasefire is in effect supporting Hamas terrorists and more murders of Israelis and Jews worldwide. Ms. Kripe is speaking for and supporting a group that calls for intifada and from the river to the sea, which are most definitely calls for the dismantling of the state of Israel and genocide of Israelis and Jews per the Hamas charter. It is a group promoting delegitimizing and destroying Israel, erasing an entire country, a people, and a culture, my family, my friends, and my ancestral homeland. The type of language and intent of Ms. Kripe's misinformed bias statements are contributing to rising anti-Semitism locally and publicly and in our schools. As stated and reported in the media, the Arab countries and much of the Western world want Hamas gone, just like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Israeli soldiers are bleeding and dying, fighting a proxy war for the Arab and Western worlds. And yet, here in Soma, hate is rising. What we, including Ms. Kripe, must demand is the surrender of Hamas and release of all hostages. When Hamas surrenders, the war would come to an end, the horrific death toll in Gaza would end, then the world could sort out how to facilitate a Palestinian state that can live side by side with Israel. Decades ago, Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir said, if the Arabs put down their weapons today, there would be no more violence. If Israel puts down their weapons today, there would be no more Israel. So it is to this day, Israel must secure its borders and its people. Israel has entered peace negotiations many times. These were always rejected by the Palestinian leaders because they do not want to share the land. They want it all without the Jews. Egypt and Jordan moved forward with peace treaties with Israel some 40 years ago. Those borders have been quiet ever since, no violence. So it can happen if there is a will. This is what Ms. Kripe should be demanding, not intifada and genocide of Jews. Palestinians and Israelis all have the right to life in secure and peaceful borders. Our community needs to lead as the best example of coexistence anywhere, which has been a stated goal of our community. Ms. Kripe stated, and I quote directly, I have to speak up, and if that costs me my role as a member of the committee, the sacrifice is worth it, unquote. And so it is time for her to resign tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last and final public comment during this public comment portion. Mr. Wary.
Mayor, there are no other hands raised.
Okay, seeing no other hands raised, we will close. Oh,
I'm sorry. The person who had their hand raised before has re-raised their hand. So if you'd like,
please,
I can move them.
please.
Moving over Faraya Kugel to public portion.
Please provide the instructions. 3 minutes.
Ms. Kugel, you are now in public portion. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you give me 1 second? I just okay. I think I'm good. All right.
We can hear you. Welcome.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
I actually have a crying baby. If you can just give me a second.
You got a crying baby.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Did you hear everything?
We can hear you loud and clear. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. My name is Fariha Chogle. I'm a resident of Maplewood. I had intended to speak today to extend my gratitude to committee member Jermaine Kripe for expressing solidarity with her constituents and families asking for a ceasefire in Gaza, which, to simply put, would save innocent lives. But I'm appalled by the entitlement that some of the racist bigots and ignorant public speakers have displayed here today. What part of her speech makes them so angry? The part where she said that she's learning about the history of the conflict, or the part where she felt the pain of the families who have family gatherings so that they die together when a bomb is dropped, or the part where she acknowledged that speaking up may blow up in her face, as it has, but she realized that she ran for office not to gain popularity, but to bring about change, to become the voice of people. Our racist and ignorant neighbors on the other side have gotten into the habit of banning, censoring any voices that go against their privileged positions. For example, Maps of Freedom School. Okay, at the rate that they're going, it's not far-fetched to imagine a scenario where they accuse a restaurant of being anti-Semitic just because they put less salt in their sandwich. They just bully you to entertain such ridiculous demands, and it's granted because institutions who are supposed to protect students, teachers, civilians with free speech just bend over backwards to the slightest pressure put on them, either willfully because they're corrupt, or because just that they're just too coward to take a corrective action. On October 7th, I saw a sign of I stand with Israel after those horrific attacks. It's been 73 days since continuous carpet bombing of city where innocent children and people continue to die. Hospitals, universities, mosques, schools, churches, ambulances, even refugee camps are not even spared. Still, there is no sign of I stand with Palestine from this committee. If that's too much to ask, then at least a no ceasefire call, but only sounds of crickets. On the contrary, we have seen worse behavior standing with the oppressors and trying to suppress the voice of people like Jermaine Cripe, who are standing and demanding justice. As I spoke here, likely innocent children's souls have departed this world due to the actions of baby killer Netanyahu and the Zionists. How many more need to be murdered before you speak out? Enough is enough. If there is injustice or cruelty happens to any of our privileged speakers or members who are afraid to accept the truth, because believe me, it will, as they say, karma. I assure you, people like Jermaine and all those shouting Free Palestine will stand with you. Every Sunday, our community stands shoulder to shoulder, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, black, white, brown, yellow, all stand in solidarity with humanity. And if any of the speakers who spoke before me against Ms. Cripe would have attended, would know this. Okay? The whole world is calling for a ceasefire. When are you going to stand up? Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes this public comment period this evening, and we shall move forward with the business of the township. So I'm going to ask our Community Development Director, Mr. Palma, to lead us through the CDBG public hearing. Welcome. Actually, Mr. Palma, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Lead us through that. Go ahead. Let's.
Good evening, members of the Township Committee. Roger, this one's for you.
Put the mic.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. This is the third of two public hearings. Seeking
joke,
the
yes.
Township Committee's endorsement to apply for a community development block grant from Essex County for the purpose of getting about $213,000 in funding for the purpose of installing ADA compliant curb cuts and the ancillary concrete work that's required at intersections. So we have gotten money for this purpose before. We do have a responsibility under federal law to make sure that our intersections and public facilities are ADA compliant. We hope to get about 30 of them completed with this funding. And I just urge us to go forward with the application. And by the way, the locations are in various parts of town. To the extent possible, we are trying to connect them with our road program.
Wonderful.
Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions from the Township Committee? We'll allow the public the opportunity. Anyone here in person wish to comment about this? Seeing none, we'll offer folks online an opportunity to comment about our CDBG grant.
Any members of the public joining us on Zoom would like to comment on this grant, please raise your hand now. There are no raised hands, Mayor.
Great. We will close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I know you're gathering signatures and we will follow suit.
Yeah.
Before we move. Okay. Yeah, it's just a requirement to gather signatures of those who are present in the public hearing, further proof that we had a public hearing. Thank you folks for signing that. Okay, before we move over to the next item, which is administrative reports, I'm going to offer the Township Committee an opportunity, if anyone is interested, to comment on any of the public comments that we received this evening? Anyone? Deputy Mayor Engel?
Thank you, Mayor. As the Jewish town council member, I felt like I should respond to some of the statements we were getting from folks in our Jewish community and our Muslim community and members of the public in general. For myself, for Ms. Kripe, for many of our members of our two towns and our Board of Ed, this topic has taken over our lives for the past 2 months. I personally, as a Jewish person, love the pluralism in our Jewish community. I don't think we all agree on this issue. We're not all Zionists, but we all should be one community, not only the Jewish community here in Soma, but a community that lives in Maplewood and South Orange, and that's how I feel. Ms. Kripe and I have spoken separately about the parts of her statements that personally hurt me. I feel like we had a good dialogue about it. I feel like Ms. Kripe is a good person, has a good heart. And I don't think that Ms. Kripe and I are going to be able to solve the problems going on in Israel and Gaza today. This is a centuries old issue dating to basically when religion started. It's a huge crisis. It's really hard. There's moral dilemmas. There's devastating loss going on in Gaza. There's hostages that have not been released. It is heartbreaking. We're all filled with emotion on every side, no matter what you think. We're all touched by this conflict happening, and it is really hard. But I believe that Ms. Kripe and I need to be role models and show that just because we might disagree on this issue, and there might be things that hurt us both on this issue, there are other things that we can work together to solve that are important for our community, like infrastructure. A lot of us got flooded with this past storm. Infrastructure is not going away. That's something that Ms. Kripe and I can work together on. We can work together on making it safer for our residents to be able to ride their bikes, run our streets, walk to school. Those are issues that are affecting everybody in our community that we can work productively on together and collaborate together. And so what Ms. Kripe and I have talked about, and what I would like to do, I've spoken to some of my township committee members, is to put together small group listening sessions or moderated conversations where we can come together and talk through these issues and learn skills for civil discourse, because we don't need to all agree on an issue. It's good to have conversation. It's good to have debate. It's good to hear all sides. What's not good is to be so mean and violent to each other, because we all live here. And look what's happening to our youth. Look what happened to our schools. There was hate speech written in the bathrooms of our high school. Our youth are watching how the adults are reacting and how we're talking about the situation. And we need to be role models to them, because this is a generational conflict. There's generational trauma, and we need to be the grownups in the room and start showing our kids how we can work together to make change and make good and peace in this world. So that's what I wanted to say about it. Thank you.
I'm so glad that was recorded, because that was really eloquent and powerful. Thank you. Are there other members of the Township Committee who wish to remark on any public comment that was made? Okay, I do have a remark I want to make as it relates to the trucks on Porter Road, Field Road, Newark Way, and so on. Mr. Wary, once again, our residents are speaking up about the lack of enforcement in our town. Even where we have signage, it's not being enforced. So what's it going to take? I'm not asking you to answer that. I'm being rhetorical. We really, really need our police department to understand that we need enforcement in our town. We're not talking about quotas, and we're not talking about anything improper other than they're serving the people of Maplewood. The people of Maplewood continue to speak up in various forums, in various subcommittees, and before us here in this room about the lack of speeding enforcement, the lack of parking enforcement. We heard that again tonight. And the lack of enforcement of our laws in general. But those things in particular, and this time of year, as it gets darker earlier, and we have folks using pedestrian crosswalks where they exist, there's a lot of danger out there. On my way here tonight, I saw someone literally miss someone right on Walton and Jefferson. This person was a commuter using the pedestrian crosswalk, and the person had their Apple iPhone light on. They were clearly visible unless you were in a hurry, distracted, and just downright inhumane. So let's give tickets. Let's enforce the law. Let's stop this behavior. As it relates to the trucks, thank you for those comments. Really, really appreciate the residents who are speaking out about this. In addition to signage in the neighborhood there, we can do something else too. There is precedent of townships adopting ordinances in New Jersey to prohibit trucks of a certain size to enter certain neighborhoods. Hamilton Township did it not too long ago in the Crown Heights neighborhood. The way it works is the governing body adopts an ordinance and they submit their request to the Department of Transportation. In order for the Department of Transportation to accept the request, we need petitions signed by the residents in the affected neighborhood, and we need legislative support. It's great to see our Assemblywoman-elect, Ms. Garnett Hall, with us. And Ms. Hall, I know you live in the neighborhood. I know this is real and personal for you. Thank you for being here tonight. So we'll need your support. If this township committee, will discuss it in the new year, is willing to adopt such an ordinance and make such a request to the Department of Transportation, we will need your support in order for DOT to grant that. And that could be your first win. Yay, right? So let's discuss this in the appropriate subcommittees, public safety, engineering, planning, and public works, and take it from there. Any comments on that from the township committee? Fantastic. See, we can solve some things. Okay, great. So we carry on with our agenda, and we are now at administrative reports. Mr. Wary.
Thank you, Mayor. First, we had gone out to RFP for homelessness outreach and support services in the township. We had a very narrowly tailored request with very specific requirements of respondents. One of those being to be able to staff hours here in Maplewood. So we understand that that narrowly tailored request would limit the amount of respondents. We were fortunate to receive 2 very good responses and are in the process of evaluating those now. We have a meeting Thursday with the evaluators to discuss those responses and expect to have a recommendation to the governing body next month.
Terrific. Thank you.
Sure. On the agenda tonight is a resolution to hire a police officer, Mr. Sutton. He interviewed with the Township Committee a number of months ago. We are excited to bring him on board. He will begin the academy in January, and he will replace an officer who has a planned retirement this spring. And lastly, on the agenda tonight is a resolution reappropriating open space money. This resolution doesn't exactly change the original intent of the appropriation from open space. The original intent was for the demolition of the tennis courts and the construction of a spray park that was in one approval. We still want to move forward with that, the project, but we have an immediate need to demolish those tennis courts. We received a notice from our insurer who made the recommendation that they be demolished. And so we want to take the money that was originally intended to demolish the courts and separate it out. It's a maximum of $40,000. Separate that out strictly for the demolition of the courts. So it's the same purpose, but the way that the original resolution was worded, we couldn't just use it for the tennis court. So that is what that resolution was. And I wanted to make sure that the governing body and the public was aware of that change. That is my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wary. Are there any questions for our administrator from the Township Committee?
Does that demolition include making the area safe or doing anything? What will it look like after the courts themselves are demolished?
What we contract for will leave that area with more like a natural surface. So it'll just be a dirt surface that we can choose to do other things, but our immediate need right now is to demolish those tennis courts.
Right.
And so right now there's not a planned upgrade as part of the demolition beyond bringing it down to surface level.
Okay.
So the concrete will be gone, the fencing will be gone. It'll be left in an area that we could plant grass in, should we choose,
Right.
trees or another improvement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Wary? Thank you, Mr. Wary. Mr. Desiderio, your last meeting.
I actually have a report tonight, Mayor.
We have a report.
And you have a report for us on your last meeting.
Wait, should we wait?
Well, you could proceed with your report.
Something should be in the report.
Yeah.
So with regard to the property at 1350 Newark Way,
Mr. Desiderio, we need you to speak a little bit closer.
with regard to the property at 1315 Newark Way, the Township Committee and the Township had previously granted an easement to the proprietor. In building the wall and the driveway, he exceeded the allowed easement. He has now come back and asked for an extension reflecting the new property. We calculated at the time a price for the easement, and we have done a new calculation based on the additional 692 feet, and that would be $6,950. So with your permission and a motion, we will grant an extension of that easement to include the new space. There's a $10,000 escrow. We'll allocate that between the township and the property owner and move forward.
Great. I'll move the extension grant. Is there a second?
Second.
Adams?
Yes.
Right. Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes. Mr. Desiderio, do you have anything else in terms of an update? In the report?
Well, I have comments for later, but I don't have any.
Okay. So what we're going to do is this.
Okay.
We're going to get through the reports. I know that the elected officials, including myself, will have some warm things to say about you and salute you. And then we will turn it back, and our administration as well. And then we will turn it back to you for your remarks. Fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. All right. Ms. Fritzen, Township Clerk.
I really wanted to say no report, but I can't do it. Just quickly, a couple of things. I want to report that parking passes are available. They've been available. Commuter updates to township lots, merchants, and you have the online option as well as coming in person. So that's up and running. My other report, just quickly, is to tell the Township Committee that and the public that we will be back in this room on New Year's Day at 2:00 p.m. for our annual reorganization meeting. Going to be extremely exciting because it is our first in-person annual reorganization meeting in 4 years. So I'm looking forward to that and, formulating details, and I appreciate the help I'm getting from township officials, township committee members, and that is my report.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Any questions from the Township Committee for Ms. Fritzen? All right. Reports from elected officials. We'll begin with Deputy Mayor Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. My one report is last week, Mr. Wary and I and some other folks from Maplewood met with Dr. Gilbert from the school district at the site of the proposed greenway. So we continue to move forward with hopefully making headway and getting approval from the schools in order to see if we can do a greenway. So I just wanted to update since that's been a conversation we've been talking about. So more to come on that. And that is my only report. Thank you.
Thank you. Not required. Any comments to Mr. Desiderio that you'd like to make? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Desiderio. So I'm the newbie here, and I always say that in almost everything. But I just want to thank you so much for all the time that you've given me and all the help and all the wisdom and all the guidance in this year of learning how to be a government official. And Maplewood is so lucky to have had you for your service for 30 years. I'm lucky to have known you for one of those years, but I'm so grateful for all that you've taught me and showed me. And I hope that you still come to our meetings, maybe sometime. I see a lot of people there, but I'm not sure if they're like excited for you to retire and come home, or if they really want you to just stay out of their way. So
To see if it was really going to happen.
always welcome here. So thank you for
very much.
everything. And I wish you all success in this next chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any questions for the Deputy Mayor from the Township Committee? Okay. Committee Member DeLuca?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report, but I do have two statements. First, Mayor, I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Because this is your last meeting as mayor. And
Hopefully not for the last time, but
well,
we can
at least
wink, wink.
I'm evidence that you can come back to life.
Okay.
I've said this publicly to the press when we ran together. You were one of the hardest working mayors we've had, and I want to thank you for that. You got us back into this building, having meetings. You worked, to get us into a hybrid situation, and it was it took a while, but we got here, and I think we're a model for governing bodies around the state. There are many who either do this or do that, but don't do both. So thank you for that. You've really kept us focused on being transparent, being open, communicating with the public. And I think those are tremendous qualities and values to have. So thank you for your leadership. You'll be sitting in another seat, but I think you'll be of tremendous value to Ms. Adams as she comes in. And that's what's important. The important is, as opposed to what we saw in Washington a few years back, the transfer of power works here. The transfer of power worked from me, from a longtime mayor, to Mr. McGeehee, from Mr. McGeehee to you, from you to Ms. Adams. And that's the beauty of this system of government, our township committee, and it's the beauty of democracy. So thank you. You will be remembered. You will never be forgotten.
I'm not going anywhere. So
as the mayor, you'll be remembered as mayor, and as you said, you might get up to bat again. So you never know. And my second comment is to this guy over there, Mr. Desiderio. You and I have been no. Well, you've made me cry a couple times over the years, so.
Good way.
Yeah, both of sorrow and happiness. You and I have worked together for a long time, and we've seen administrators come and go. I was trying to figure there's about 8 administrators, dozens or so department heads, many township committee people, and the glue that kept us together was you. You kept us all in line, and I mean that in a very good way. You are one of the most honest, strategic, thoughtful people that I've ever worked with. So it has been my pleasure, and we've done a lot of good things together. We've made a difference here in town, from affordable housing to some of the reconstruction that took place. You and I didn't always agree. There was a time publicly at a meeting where you called me a weak mayor, and we straightened that out right away. He was describing our form of government. That's how it works. It is really a weak mayor, but we worked that out, right, Roger?
Supposed to be.
But people take this as a job. You never did. You took it as this is your community and this is your passion. And it showed. It showed in everything you did. You didn't do it halfway. You did it completely. You did it honestly. And so thank you for everything you've done. This won't be your last hurrah. You're still going to be here. And maybe Denise will put a little more of a leash on you. You'll be going, doing a few other things. You'll be more time to be a grandpa, which is, I know, something that you hold special. So again, it's just, you certainly will never be forgotten for the 30 years that you put in for the township. And I've had the pleasure of working with for 24 and other times, and even the times when I wasn't on the township committee. So I just want to thank you for being my partner, being my friend, being a resident, being our attorney, and just being a good guy. So thank you very much, Roger.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. Committee Member Adams.
Oh, I wasn't following the agenda. So I have no report. I promised you that. So I don't know if you saw my text, but I did want to, I'll go in the same order that Mr. DeLuca did. And thank you, Mayor Daffis, for your hard work and your leadership in steadying the ship as we came back in person and making sure we got hybrid and just being communicative. I think that is something I hope to be able to do as well, because I think it's important, especially in a committee form of government, that we all kind of know what's going on before we come out in public. So I just want to thank you, and I am counting on you. So
I'll be there for you.
Cell phone number.
I will be there for you. Yep.
Roger, thank you so much for everything. See, I get verklempt. He doesn't. He holds it all in. But I've admired how you speak up when the rest of us are discussing something. You're like, you can't. No, you can't. You can't do that. You can't talk about that. That's and try, as Mr. DeLuca said, keeping us in line. I appreciate your love of this job, and I know that you're going to miss it a lot. And I appreciate you telling me that when I'm serving next year, that I can contact you anytime with.
You better get him in trouble.
Did he really say that?
Any historical questions or restaurant recommendations, anything like that. But no, I appreciate your counsel and your guidance, and I will miss you very much on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you very much.
And happy holidays to everybody. So that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. And I move that we extend our meeting beyond our 9:30 cutoff. We're getting pretty close.
Second.
All right.
Second.
Adams?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
DeLuca?
Yes.
Sengel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. Thank you. Committee Member Kripe.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. The end of year has come along for YouthNet. So if you are in the process of thinking about your annual giving, we have amazing programs at our middle schools that are supported by the contributions of this community. So please, if you find yourself with a little spare change or more, the money that folds versus the kind that jingles, that you consider donating to YouthNet so that our kids have after-school programming and support that will help them develop into better, stronger, better citizens here in Maplewood. Second thing is the Seniors Advisory Committee has drafted a statement for in regards to the situation here in, well, not here, in the Middle East, and I'd like to read it into the record. The Seniors Advisory Committee supports the statement by the Township Committee regarding the vandalism of signs in front of Congregation Beth Ephraim on Prospect Street. We also express our concern with regard to the act of vandalism recently committed at Columbia High School. We're grateful for the measures being taken by the Township Committee and the Maplewood Police Department to make sure that our community, and in particular, all places of worship, is safe, and to ensure that hate has no place here in Maplewood. Representing a constituency of older Maplewood residents, many of whom either personally or through their immediate forebears have experienced anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and other forms of racism and xenophobia, the Seniors Advisory Committee urges the Township Committee to work with the school district, local clergy, community-based organizations, neighborhood associations, and other community stakeholders to identify ways in which we can build a culture of mutual acceptance and good neighborliness. We further encourage the Township Committee to create and promote opportunities for Maplewood residents to gather in neighborhood-based community activities, volunteering, and social events to get to better know their neighbors and to feel safe and included in their community. It was an honor to help draft this with our committee of seniors, and a big special thank you to not only Joan Crystal, the chair of the committee, but Stephen Seckel, the gentleman who did the majority of the writing as we all tossed ideas as that committee tends to work at each other. Finally, I would personally like to extend a big bout of gratitude to the numerous clergy, educators, and members of the community who've reached out to me personally over the last month or so, including our Deputy Mayor, Deb Engel, who we have had conversations in regards to educating ourselves and finding ways to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. I will be drafting up a statement to offer for another date, not tonight, in regards to some of the things that were said tonight that were complete falsehoods. And we'll go from there. But I do want to thank the community for their concerns, for their desire to make our home area safer for one another, and for supporting the communities that are being hurt currently, the people who are hurting. We are proud to say that hate has no home here, but sometimes it manifests itself in ugly ways. And I hope that through the next years, as we learn and grow together, that we'll get better at it. And I'm looking forward to those circles. I really am. I've had a lot of great conversations with organizations as well as mental health professionals who are interested in coming in and helping create those spaces for our township to come together and share their feelings and be able to start listening to each other in a more healthy way. And that is my report, sir. Mr. Desiderio,
Yes, Ms. Craig.
I'm not the newbie anymore, but I will say that as a newbie, you were one of the things that kept me afloat. There were many times that I could come home and spoke to my husband specifically and was like, I can't do this. I don't understand what's going on. And you would almost by kismet would send me an email and was like, you seem like you had a question. And it was very nice of you to do that for me. And it was wonderful to have that ace in my pocket of someone who I could ask questions, even if I thought they were stupid questions, you would answer them. And I see you as not only an advocate, you made it comfortable to ask uncomfortable questions. And you were never afraid to say, I might not have the answer, but I'll get back to you. And that's respectable for someone who's been doing this for 30 years. So thank you for being such a model and creating such huge shoes that Jen's going to have to fill, because you do it, you make it seem easy. You make it seem easy. And the community that you've created in this administration, as well as within the various members of the Township Committee that have come through your 30 years here, is a testament to who you are as a leader, as an attorney, and as a man. So thank you for being who you are, and enjoy the quality time with those gorgeous grandkids. Oh my gosh, look at them.
It's a beautiful family.
I'll introduce them in a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Cripe. I have a couple quick updates, and then I will offer my gratitude as well to Mr. Desiderio. First, legislative update. It's a really busy time in Trenton right now, during what's known, terrible, the lame duck session. That means the hurry to get some bills passed right now before January 9th, when the new members of the legislature are sworn in. But there are some important bills that are moving forward, including a new affordable housing bill that's being promoted by all of the top most influential Democratic members, the Democrats in our legislature. This is a bill that proposes to officially abolish COA, replace the current court settlement process with mediation panels, officially say no to RCA's, regional contribution agreements, which is how a lot of municipalities have thwarted their moral obligation and legal obligation to create affordable housing within their borders. And to generally streamline the process. The details, there's a lot more details in the bill. We are watching it very closely. It may affect our next round of negotiations. Round 4 start in July 2025 is our current round ending. And we're watching it closely, but this bill, it has a lot of traction and it is moving. I'm glad to report the quite opposite about a bill that may have affected the OPRA or OPMA. We love our acronyms in government. That's the Open Records Act or the Open Meetings Act, Public Meetings Act. There were some efforts to what can only be described as demolish transparency in requesting records from government and create unnecessary burdens on private citizens and companies and nonprofits in making requests for information from government. This bill seems to have lost traction, and the legislators who were promoting it are now saying, well, maybe we should take more time and be more thoughtful. So let's talk about being more thoughtful. Roger, if I may. It's no secret to anyone that I came here ablazing, right? Fist up in the air, impatient, pure in my advocacy. And we butted heads in the beginning. But you made me more thoughtful, more strategic, and overall a stronger public servant. Thank you for your mentorship. And we've become friends too during the process. So I want to thank you for what you've done for me. And I want to thank you for your tremendous, tremendous public service to the great community of Maplewood. And I see your family here, your beautiful family. I want to thank them, especially Denise, for sharing so much of him with us. 30 years of sitting here instead of being with you and being with the rest of the family. And to our youth in the crowd. Yeah, I'm speaking to you all handsome youths.
They're like, you're such nerds.
Listen to an old guy up here on the mic. Spend as much time as you can with him. Listen to him. He is truly an incredible human being. And you will be better off for it. Really, I'm serious. I know you guys are teenagers and you have a lot of more important things to do and friends to hang out with. But this is the man you should grow up to be. He really, really is. So happy retirement, Roger.
Thank you, Mayor.
I also want to say that personally, I always get emotional at these things. I can't help myself. I always say I'm never going to do it. Being the chair has been incredibly thrilling and rewarding. I've enjoyed it a lot. As some of my colleagues have already remarked, I think I've been collaborative and communicative, and I've led us through some tough times. the past couple of years in Maplewood. And I look forward to remaining collaborative, remaining a strong public servant. And I'm really, really excited to step aside and let our women take over. And I'm excited for Committee Member Adams, and you betcha I will be by your side to offer support whenever you need it. We will look forward to your leadership, and to Deputy Mayor Kripe. Look forward to your leadership as well. And my thoughts to the community. It's been really tough out there. There's a lot going on around the world and right here. And we don't always have the right words. And we have to do better. And we have to connect. We are not healthy when we are where we are right now. I think Deputy Mayor Engel really said it best. We have to come together. We have to listen to each other. We have to see each other. And everyone has to feel like they're included in the town that they live in our sister town, because we are one community. So I pledge that I will love more in the new year. Love is not just a feeling, it's an act. You love by including, you love by sharing, you love by supporting. And I pledge to do that more in the new year with everyone. Our Arab and Muslim neighbors, our Jewish neighbors and friends, and everyone, and find ways for us to continue raising awareness of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and in bringing us together. And at times it will be uncomfortable, but as I always say, through pain comes growth. And last but not least, I hope that we all will find the time to let a little joy in our hearts as we head into the rest of the holiday season towards the end of the month. So happy joy, more love, happy holidays. And that's my report. Thank you. Now, I'm going to turn it over to our administrator. Do you have any comments for Mr. Desiderio?
I do. Thank
Yes,
you,
please.
Mayor. Roger, I have been here 8 short months. In that time, you've been a tremendous mentor to me, and that's something that I feel you did with a great amount of purpose, and I thank you for that. I am fortunate that we had a lot to do in those 8 months. We got to work together closely. I'm fortunate that it feels like I worked with you for longer than 8 months. So that is a benefit to me. You are a fair and steady hand in a position where that's incredibly important. And your interest in the success of Maplewood is evident in all you do. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Wary. And last but not least, Ms. Fritzen, I know you have a few words.
So, First Mayor, I want to start with you. And I want to say that, I tell people, I tell the other department heads, I have the honor of sharing an office door with the mayor, which no other employee here has. And you're chuckling because you're a former mayor. So, I have a direct path into the mayor's office, and he has a direct path into mine. And you and I have had fun the last 2 years. And you are the first mayor in my tenure here that has ever burned candles. And I love it. And I love it because I think it was a really calming effect for both of us.
Yes, it was a calming effect.
Just because you snuck in the back office door all the time, he lost his key.
She's telling all your.
I always
here we go.
I always heard that old-fashioned guard that's on the door when you were coming through, because we always left it unlocked for you. We. Gemma adored you. She was on your security team. I think she was good for you, and you were good for her. Another calming thing, and I thank everybody, the Township Committee included, for allowing me the privilege to bring my golden retriever to work since COVID for 3.5 years. She had the greatest life. I told you when you became the mayor that I would tell it to you straight. If I thought you were doing something that wasn't going to be popular or wrong, I did. And you and I talk things out all the time. So what if I have, 30 seconds notice for a proclamation that you have to take Saturday morning? I always took your calls. But we had a great time together, and I really want to thank you for being the person you are. And we had a lot of laughs, and we got a lot done.
Yes, we did.
So Mayor, I'm going to miss you on the other side of the wall. And you did a great job. You've been super for the people of Maplewood. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But don't be a stranger. And I really loved our lunches too. Okay, Roger. So, you know what? I'm going to start off with a little history first because I have access to history. And then I'll say a couple of comments personally. So you were first appointed by Mayor Grassmere, J. Harry Smith, Ellen Davenport, Connie Cosgrove, and Jerry Ryan. And you served with 9 mayors: Robert H. Grassmere, Ellen Davenport, Gerard Ryan, Victor DeLuca, Fred R. Profeta Jr., Kenneth Pettis, Victor DeLuca, Frank McGehee, and the Honorable Dean Daffis. Those were the mayors. I am not going to read every township committee person's name, but you serve with 25 of them. And that's a lot. But guess what, Roger? Only one township. Then I always like to do my statistical thing. So 30 years of township committee meetings. And I always base it on the minimum of 25 meetings a year, which is 2 a month plus our reorg, right? So if you do the math, you're looking at minimum 750 meetings in this room. And based on tonight's meeting and others, it depended on who the mayor was, they were even longer. I base them on 4-hour meetings. And if you take 750 meetings and do a mere 4 hours, you've had over 3,000 hours in this room.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of hours.
You were there every minute of every.
So, Roger, one thing a lot of people don't know is you and I have known each other longer than 30 years. Because when I worked in the recreation department, previous to being promoted to be the township clerk, you and I first met there. You were a coach of your 2 daughters that I've known a lifetime. And I was a program supervisor and senior citizen coordinator. And I remember you at our coach mentorship programs. I even remember you vividly at a first aid class I taught for coaches in the Civic House. So you and I have been together for over 40 years, I would have to say. I want to thank you for everything you've done for me over the past 30 years that you've been here. I've only had 2 other township attorneys, one for a year and Morty Katz for 4 years. So you've been it. And you've kept my feet on the ground. You've kept me calm. You and I have certainly two different personalities. And you've always kept me out of trouble. That's the main thing.
And out of jail.
And out of jail. And out of jail.
When Oprah came in, Liz was concerned about going to jail.
I still am. You've been a friend. I speak to you more on the phone every single day than I speak to anybody, including my children. And you don't mind calling me on holidays, weekends, nights. And if I had to call you, I would do it as well. So we've had I would call us a partnership. For 30 years that you've been the township attorney and I've been the township clerk. I don't know what I'm going to do without you because it's just what I'm so used to is having you to lean on, rely upon, and to guide me. And I know your whole family, Denise, your daughters. I get every Christmas card. Those kids get bigger every year. So when you work with somebody for 30 years and you're as tight as you and I are, we all get to know each other's family and you get to know mine as well. And my kids grew up with Mr. Desiderio calling me. Roger, I'm going to miss you terribly. I can't believe I'm not crying. I think it will hit.
Come by my house on Friday nights, drop something off.
I think it will hit me eventually. And I mean, you've been a catalyst for my long career because of you. And I love you and I thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I do have some comments, Mayor. Is this the appropriate time?
Yes, it is.
I actually want to make comments with regard to groups that I have worked with and been responsible for. First, to the residents of Maplewood. I have over these years always tried to treat you with the respect that you deserve. I've tried to answer every phone call. I've tried to answer every email. I've not always given you the answer that you want, but I've always tried to be responsive. You deserve no less, and hopefully I discharge my duty in that regard. If someone I missed, I apologize because it was never my intention to do that. To my coworkers, the staff here in Maplewood, I've always tried to offer as much support for you as possible. I've tried to always be accessible to you. I've tried to make your job easier. I've tried to never, ever leave you unprotected or leave you out on a limb. I think with regard, at least to the last part, right, Liz? I've done a good job with regard to that. This is a dedicated staff. They're hardworking, and I enjoyed working with them. Engineers and police chiefs and fire chiefs and administrators, only one town clerk. But anyway, when I wrote this, I said, singling out people is tough because somebody's feelings might get hurt, but I can't not do this. Liz, you've been special to me. Okay. If we talk once a day, we talk 3 times a day. And it's substantive. I mean, it's not just, she's actually doing her job. I don't want to suggest that she's not. But, we'll talk about agenda items and we'll talk about resolutions and we'll talk about ordinances, and am I taking care of this or what are we going to do with that? And we're coordinating. And she is special. She deserves all the accolades that she gets from the state and from her association. She is the best. All right. And Liz, I love you too. Okay. And just as an aside, I keep Patrick Weary. I think he's a keeper.
Yes, we agree. We agree. We agree.
To my Bendit Weinstock family, I've been there 43 years, I think. And over those last 30, obviously they've supported me. with regard to being the township attorney. There were several attorneys there who I would bounce things off of, some of whom you know, some of whom you've met. Chris Tiratilli always was available to me. She helped with affordable housing. She helped with rent control. When we had First Amendment questions, she'd be the one I'd go to. When we had conflicts between the issues on religious issues, okay, she was there. My other one was Bill Gold, who always had an opinion. Sometimes they were even right, but he always had an opinion. And it was a good person to bounce things off of. And then over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, Hamey in my office would be my assistant and was helpful in doing all of the work that we do here. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the person who helped me for the first 27 years. Stand up there, Ms. Patricia. When you talk about love-hate relationships, okay, Patricia and I were together 27 years. How many? 30. But 27 doing Maplewood stuff. She left once. She came back. She quit several times. She came back. I never fired you, though. You did quit. I did fire you just once. But I will tell you that she's been, where's Jimmy? Thank God for you, buddy. But she is a friend. She's just delightful. She was always supportive. I think she couldn't love Maplewood more than I love Maplewood, right? She would. I certainly could not have done. I certainly could not have done this. Could not have done this without her. To my elected officials, and I call them my elected officials because that's the way I always felt about every one of you. It was not always easy because sometimes you guys had different opinions and different thoughts and different suggestions, and I would try to bring everybody together. I have to go back, Liz. I'm hate to correct you, but I think you were wrong about who appointed me. I have in 1994, Ellen Davenport, Bert Liebman, the late Jerry Ryan.
That's true, because I had 1993. I thought you came.
Yeah, it was 1994.
Okay.
Elected official by the name of Susanna Gibbons. Okay, you remember Susanna? Okay, and Liz remembers her. And Bob Grassmere was a member of that first township committee. And they formed a government and they said, will you be the township attorney? And it was kind of like the blind leading the blind, okay, because Ellen had never been the mayor before, although she had been on the township committee. And we took it over and we did okay. And 30 years later, we're here and doing it, wrapping it up, actually. I again, at the sake of offending anybody, I have to talk about Vic. Vic is special, okay? As much as I love this town, he loves it at least as much and maybe more, okay? We'll go to meetings, especially when I have meetings with people from South Orange. I say, I bleed Maplewood. Bleed Maplewood, and I do, okay? And Vic does as well. His work is tireless. His work with affordable housing has been great. He is effectively building this library, okay? I couldn't be built without him. His efforts are unbelievable. I thank you. With the exception of calling you that weak mayor, I think that's the only thing I can think of that we may have had a disagreement about. So, and I was talking about the form of government. I wasn't talking about the individual. But anyways, thank you so much, Vic, for everything that we've done together. I feel that we've accomplished so many things, and I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate Janie sharing you with us. So thank you very much. Okay, moving on to my family. You're not getting away with anything. So first, my grandchildren, okay? So if you would stand up, this is Luke Sporell, and this is James Babiars, and this is Ryan Sporell, and this is Jackson Babiars, and this is Lila Sporell. And these are my 5 grandchildren. who I love unconditionally, and who give me support and happiness and joy to my life. So thank you all, guys. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. My daughters, okay, Christy and Jacqueline. Okay, you have to stand up too. Yeah. Oh,
Isn't that count?
quick story, and some of you know this story. Maybe everybody knows the story. So I did run for office in 1986. Got my butt kicked, I guess. Okay, but we all Democrats did back then. It was just kind of we were just kind of Harvey Weisbord and Ellen lost the first time. A fellow by the name of Pat Roach. I mean, good candidates, but at least I thought they were good candidates. Okay, but a quick story. Sorry, Jack. So we had the election in November, obviously, and we had the after party at our house on Collinwood Road where we lived then. And Jacqueline was 7, I guess. 5? Okay, 5 years old. In any event, so we're there. And listen, we didn't really expect to win, I think. Oh, yeah, you do, honestly. You don't run if you don't think you're going to win. Right? You never think you're going to win. But anyway, we're yucking it up and having a drink, and I see Jacqueline's crying. I said, "What's the matter?" She says, "I can't believe that people wouldn't vote for you."
Oh.
Now, Jacqueline, fast forward. If it was the year 2020, we didn't really lose that election. Okay. They stole it from us.
There you go.
In any event, my 2 daughters have been great. Their support has been endless, and you just have the joys of life. And when you have family, there is nothing better. And thank you, girls, so much for it. Back in the back corner, okay, is my son-in-law, Tom Spurrell. And Tom is someone that I can bounce things off of, and he keeps me balanced. And it's just great. Okay. So thank you, Tom. But
he's sick. He's recovering from a cold. So yeah.
Ostracized from the family. Then, of course, there's Denise. Okay. My wife of 50 years. All right. I know she doesn't possibly be my wife for 50 years, but she is. We couldn't have done this without her support. Okay. With her. Thank you. Okay. We need you. We couldn't do these things without the wife and support of our wives. So I thank you so much. Our spouses, I don't mean to be sexist. Okay. But I'm trying. Okay. But you were there every step of the way. You were there when I'm leaving. Is it going to be a long meeting? I said, "No, it's not too long." When Mr. Profeta was the mayor, I said, "Yes, it's going to be long." And there were times we'd come home at midnight or after midnight, and it was kind of crazy. But you were always there for all of the years, and I thank you so much for all your support. I'm almost done. Finally, to our Maplewood. In 1980, okay, Denise and I had moved to Maplewood in 1976. And we bought our first house on Boyden Parkway. And then we were looking for our second home where we live presently. And people told us that we should get out of Maplewood. It was shot. That was the word, shot. Okay. What was that code for? Oh, it's becoming integrated. Okay. And we said, what kind of baloney is this? Okay. So we bought our present home where we raised our 2 children. Okay. And had a great, marvelous experience. This is a wonderful, vibrant place to work. It is welcoming. It is everything that it could possibly be. I have to comment about this building. Every time I ride by this building on Valley Street, my chest pumps out. I'm so proud of this building. It is an edifice to this town. It is the stability of this town. This building was built, I think it was dedicated 1939 or 1937.
39.
39? Yeah, think about that.
There's no zone.
That means this building was built in the heart of the Depression. Okay? In the heart of the Depression, they had the foresight to get this land, build it across from a spectacular park, and build this building. And it's just with great pride that I am so proud to be a Maplewood resident and to have worked with Maplewood. So while I recognize that our Maplewood is not perfect, it sure in hell is better than 95% of the other places to live. So I am just happy to have been a part of it. So thank you very much.
Here, here. So we're going to take a 10-minute recess and then carry on with our meeting.
Invited to the ante room for a snack.
Right. Yes, we can grab a cookie and come back. 10-minute recess. We will rejoin 10. 5. We're back on. We're resuming our meeting, folks. We had a little bit of a recess. Thank you for joining us again. I believe, Ms. Al-Zubi, you wanted to address us? Please. I'm not sure we can hear it.
The mic doesn't seem to be on.
Hit the button again.
Thank you. Please.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to say that I think I came here, or me coming here today is not a coincidence. It's destiny. And although I came, like with broken heart of what's going on, the bright side that I've seen a lot of love and appreciation from all of you to each other. And this shows that we do have a very, beautiful heart and great minds in our leaders. And I know I left, it's 25 years. I've never seen this moment.
Right.
Today I'm witnessing it. It's, I've learned about you today, but I haven't learned in years. Exactly. And every one of you, it's like so amazing to learn this about you in like 1 hour or like less than an hour. I really appreciate you. And although I left the city, but I'm still connected, and I'm going to reconnect to connect my existing community with my new community.
We love that. Thank you.
I love you all.
Thank you very much. Okay. We're moving on to our discussion items. We have 3. We will start with a presentation by committee member DeLuca, our demographic study of membership in Maplewood's boards and committees. Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of our process every year, we do a survey of the membership of our boards and committees. This is an anonymous survey. It is voluntary. We send it out. I would just say we send it out. I send it out about 5 times because it's hard to get. It's hard. But I got the last few this afternoon and put this together. I'm going to go through this real quickly. This is part of our commitment of diversity and inclusion. And can you roll that down a little bit? We're going to see a chart come up. So the question, as you see, we ask these questions, and so this is a question of how they identify, and what you'll see is this is the current year. So 62% of the respondents are white, 26 Black, African American, Latino, and you can see the chart there. And then you go to the next chart. I guess I move this here. Okay, why don't you? Okay, I think you should no, just try to show that's that one there. Yeah. So this is just a trend line. So again, this takes it from 2018. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And this shows that in 2018, our membership on boards and committees was 74% white and 14% Black, African American. And now we've, as we wanted to do, we wanted to increase the diversity of our boards and committees. So we've gone from 14% to 26% Black African Americans, and we've reduced the white membership. Our Hispanic membership has grown to 6% from under 2% 6 years ago. The Asian and multiple races has pretty much stayed the same. Now, just to give you, if you go back to that pie chart again, just give you a quick. So our demographics of the town: white 50%, African American 33%, Latino 8%, Asian 3%, and 2 and more races are 3%. So we're right on with our Latino Hispanic. We have 6%, and the population is 8%. Asian, we have 1%. population is 3%, two or more, we have 3%, and the population is 3%. White is 50% the population, and we're at 62%, and 33% African American and 26. So we still have some room to grow, but all the trends are we're going in the right direction. So
Yeah, that's great.
and then if you go to the next chart, this is we ask just to identify if male, female, non-binary. So again, 59% of our appointees are female, 40% male, 1% non-binary. If you go to that little chart again, you can see we flipped from over the 6 years. We used to be more men than women, and we've switched over the years to switch that around. And just to give you the demographics in the town, male is 51% and female is 49% in the town. And then we talk about the age. Again, what we found over the years is the sweet spot of being involved in membership on boards and committees is 40 to 60 years old. And that happens to be the top age group in town. It's 45 to 65. So it pretty much corresponds with that. We are getting a little better in some of the younger ages, but that's gone up a little bit. But again, if you go to that chart there, you can just see these are just trend lines. We don't really have to go over these things, but you'll see that when you do. We do ask if the person, next one is the person is a tenant or an owner. We have tried over the years to involve more tenants. Our high here was in 2021. We had 9%. We're being pretty consistent around 7%, but most of the participants are homeowners. So that's something we can continue to work on. Over the years, we've increased our representation from the LGBTQ plus community. We're at 6%. And that's gone up from 4% 6 years ago. You go to the next one. This is a very busy chart, but this shows you're living here in town. Again, the real high number is the 30 years and over. We have a lot of people who have been here a long time, and it makes sense. They're vested. They want to stay in the communities. They stay on the committees for a while, and they want to give back to the community. And so you're here for a few years, and you say, "I want to be on a committee." Let's see. Go to the next one. Is the chart here. So what's interesting here is that 57% of our members of boards and committees, those are the first two columns all the way to the right, the first two lines, 57% are on our committees for under 5 years. So it's a relatively new group, which is good because we want to have the benefit of having new people on, some seasoned people, and people in the middle, and that's what we're seeing here. But clearly 57% are 5 years and less. And then if they've been reappointed again, 57% are in their first term or have been reappointed once. And that's good to see. And then just to wrap it up on the next, are they familiar with the code of conduct? Yes, 87%. We asked, their committee meetings, and we saw 55% in the last 30 days. So our committees are very busy. We had 1% that didn't meet. This is good for us. Does your committee have active participation from a township committee member? 93% said yes. So
We're there.
And do you think your committee is making progress? Again, 88% said yes. This is actually a little down from last year. And that could just be, who answered and something that have gone on. So this is something we do every year. As I said, we'll do a final because there might be some more coming in. And then we will put this on our website, and we share this with the Community Coalition on Race. So, and this hopefully will guide us as we go forward and think about appointments in 2024. We do have some holes. We do have vacancies, and we probably need to be a little more intentional to make sure that we're following this pattern.
Fantastic. Thank you, Committeeman DeLuca. Any questions or comments, Township Committee?
Before I eat my cookie?
Yes, go. Eat your cookie. Our next item is a proposed community host agreement for applicant Bud and Leaf Delivery LLC. They are a Class 6 cannabis delivery applicant who was approved at the last Township Committee to operate delivery service within the Township of Maplewood, subject to the mutually beneficial execution of a community host agreement. The community host agreement that's being proposed to the Township Committee this evening has been circulated to the committee in advance, and it has been shared with the applicant. And I'm pleased to report that the applicant and her attorney have agreed to the terms. The community host agreement is nearly identical to the community host agreement that we have required of the other cannabis licensees thus far operating within the township. It's slightly modified to account for the different revenue model of delivery licensees. They work essentially off of commission of delivery of product. They're not retailers themselves. And so we had to adjust our community host agreement to that. So I'm going to open the floor to the Township Committee for any discussion of the proposed community host agreement. Any comments or remarks?
I think it's good. You did a good job.
Thank you. I will move the community host agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Kripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes, thank you. I believe the applicant is in the audience.
He
He is.
There you go. I can see you. Do you wish to make any comments? Why not? Tonight is a night of
Night of
comments.
comments.
Yes. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Wadia Jackson, founder and president of Bud and Leaf Delivery. I thank the committee for approving the community host agreement, and reading it, it aligned a lot with my values and what I want to commit to the community. And I already feel very excited about, and already in my mind are like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get, the association in Hilton? And I was like, I want to, more than just Hilton, the greater encompassing community, just rather in the section that I reside in. So we've modified that, and just I'm excited just not for the business portion to serve the community, but to serve the community in general with the ideas and initiatives that I have. So I thank you guys very much for the approval. And now I'm on to my next initiative to go to the state. So we're just treading along. This is a lot. It's been a very long journey this year. And I want to thank the committee and Mayor Dean Daffis and Roger for, helping to get that host agreement intact in the short amount of time that we had. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you for your presentation at the last meeting. It was very comprehensive and thoughtful. And congratulations. We have the resolution of local approval on the consent agenda tonight. Mr. Desiderio, do you want to comment about that?
I was just going to say that after you pass it, you can, if you want to pick up a copy from Mrs. Frisson, she can sign it because she has to submit it to Trenton. So, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And just for the public's edification out there, nope, that's fine. Did you want to say something else?
No.
Oh, I know everyone loves a mic, right? So for the public's edification, all cannabis licensees within the township that have been approved, our approval was always conditioned on a community host agreement. That means that in return for our approving their application, so long, of course, as it meets all the requirements of the state regulations to operate in the cannabis space, we also require them to be good neighbors. That's what a community host agreement is. Meaning the host is the township, and the applicant, or the licensee rather, agrees to be a good neighbor. They agree to work with the neighborhood associations. They agree to sponsor local events. They agree to host local events. They agree to contribute to our municipal alliance, which is a partnership that we have with the school district and through the County of Essex that does anti-substance abuse education and programming and support. They agreed to be a neighbor and a partner, and we're delighted that this applicant will be doing the same, and we wish them all the best in securing their state annual license. Okay. The next item is 2024 pool fees. Deputy Mayor Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. So this year in our Health and Community Services meeting, we've had a lot of conversation around our current pool fees and how they make it unaffordable for some people to join our pool, and it's called a community pool. And what kinds of pool do we want to have here in Maplewood? And historically, our pool has been set up as a separate utility with a mandate that it should be self-sustainable. But it just feels like costs are rising, and is that mandate even actually possible? And so we've been talking about it, and I am very lucky to have Mr. DeLuca serving on that committee with me this year, because he brings the historical knowledge and the understanding of municipal law and municipal budgeting and how to actually get things done. And so what we wanted to talk about today is a policy decision for us to discuss. And I'm just going to read what Mr. DeLuca wrote, and then I'm going to send it over to you, which is, for reasons of financial and climate equity, beginning in 2024, the Township Committee will balance membership fees with an allocation of township funding to make the pool more accessible to all. So, Mr. DeLuca, do you want to just take over from there and continue the conversation?
Thank you. Thank you. So the idea here is, as you said, is to have a plan over the next few years to reduce the fee. And we've talked about some targeting of trying to reduce the fee about 50%. And it really will depend on the amount of available resources we have year to year in the budget. Part of that is we have a cap situation in that you can't make a major infusion in one budget year because we have a limit of 3.5% cap increase. That's a cap in our budget. So during our budget process that begins in January, we will take a look at what is our cap space, what can we expand the budget by, what's the amount, and then we'll look at all the other needs that we have in town, because we have salaries going up, we have other costs, utilities go up and things like that. Some of those are outside the cap, some of those are in the cap. And then we'll make a determination of what we have and we'll make a proposal, a monetary proposal of how much we can allocate to the pool. Now, just to be clear, we already do some allocation, both formally and informally. Last year we allocated $25,000 pool fees. We also informally allocate resources of our finance office, Department of Community Services. So there's a lot of support that goes to the pool already from the town side. And this is just a cleaner process. And what we're talking about is that we'll make some reduction in the fee next year, again, based on what that cap space is. Know that. We'll determine that in February. We'll pass an ordinance to set that fee so that pool memberships will be available in March. The idea is, as you said, we will keep the pool as a separate utility. So this way, money that comes in can stay in that pot. It doesn't have to go to the general fund, but we will eliminate that self-liquidation fund, self-support notion, mandate. So this way we'll be able to put money in and we'll be able to open the pool to more people. We hope that even in future years, because of the increase in membership, that we'll have additional fee revenue so that any allocation of tax money will even be either not go up as much, or even if we were to explode in membership, be able to maintain that levels. But I think we're all in agreement. We've talked about this a long time, making the pool a more open pool and making it accessible to more folks in the community. And this is how we intend to do that.
Thank you. So we wanted to bring it here to this meeting as a discussion item to just see if we had our colleagues' support to move in this direction as we start looking at budget season and playing with the numbers. So I don't know process-wise if we have to do anything
or?
Well, I think we first have to all be on the same page with this policy.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yeah, 110%. My goodness. Please make the community pool for the community.
Right. Okay. So do we need a official vote on that?
Say it out loud.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Sprite?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca? Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes.
More to come. Thanks.
More to come.
Look forward to it. That's awesome.
Yes. I move that we adopt our consent agenda.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Sprite?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca? Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. And this brings us to our second public comment period. Are there any members here with us in person who wish to? Yes, please. Sir, welcome. Come up to the mic, introduce yourself. 3 minutes. Welcome.
It's on.
And my name is Paul Parsons. I live at 10 Park Avenue in Maplewood. I'm really here tonight to congratulate Roger. I first met Roger, I'm like a 46-year resident of Maplewood. We raised our 4 daughters here. 2 of my daughters are raising their families here. Just had a granddaughter graduate from Columbia last year. Oh my God. But that's how I met Roger years ago, probably coaching. His daughters, Jackie and Christy, were elementary school friends of 2 of my daughters. So that's how I first got to meet him. But the reason I really came up is to thank him. For the last 30 years or so, I've been the municipal tax assessor in Union Township. And as you know, we share a border, quite a lengthy border. And sometimes it's a complicated border. The border doesn't always go down the middle of the street. There's a lot of properties. So over the years, there have been certain times when I've reached out to Roger, and if he, normally I'd get him right away, but if I didn't, he'd get back to me immediately. And it's not just, there were certain issues that involved Maplewood and Union that we would talk about. But then I found, as I got to know him a little bit more that way, that when I had a situation in Union that I wasn't quite sure about, I could call a municipal attorney who was very knowledgeable in another municipality, and he would spend as much time as was necessary to help me through the situation. So not only has he been giving advice to Maplewood's municipal officials, but unions also, at least to me. And so I thank you, Roger. He would spend as much time as was necessary, and it was always very much appreciated. Now, just to finish, I'm not sure if you know how competitive he can be. He probably doesn't remember this, but when his daughter Jack, I think it was Jackie, not Christy, and she was probably about 10, he was coaching her team, and I was coaching with another fellow, my daughter, in the girls' softball. They were about 10, I think. Anyway, it was the last game of the season. We were both tied for first place. I'll tell you why he doesn't remember it. We were tied for first place, and the game ended in a tie. Ooh. There's some young man umpire who doesn't really know what to do. So we have a conversation, says, what do you want to do? So, I mean, I was okay walking away, but Roger said, no, I think we should play it out. I think we should play the game out. And crown a champion. So, okay, that sounds good. So the reason I remember this and he doesn't,
Is they won.
who do you think won? I just wanted to thank you for all your help when I was the assessor. It was appreciated. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that wonderful story.
I thought he was going to say rock, paper, scissors. So it's like,
Other members of the public here in person who wish to share remarks? Seeing none, we will move to online. Any hands raised, Mr. Wary?
Yes, Mayor. I'm moving John Gordon over to public portion. Mr. Gordon, you're now in public portion. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is actually his wife, Carrie. I wanted to say I'm thankful to Miss Kripe for speaking out on the side of freedom and justice instead of apartheid and fascism. My family is Christian Palestinian. This is not a religious conflict. This isn't a centuries-long conflict. This is about 75 years of occupation, which is maintained by apartheid and ethnic cleansing. My mother-in-law is a Palestinian refugee from 1948. She fled bombing, and her family was not allowed to return to their home. She still has the deed and the key. She remembers living with Jewish people without conflict. She remembers that they participated in each other's holidays. If Jesus were born today, he would be born under rubble. Mary and Joseph would have to travel through 15 Israeli checkpoints and scale a 30-foot wall to reach Bethlehem. When Palestinians say, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," they mean living in freedom and equality, which includes Jewish people. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize Israel, apartheid, or genocide. Under international law, people have the right to resist occupation. To give an analogy, if space aliens came to Maplewood, kicked everyone out of their houses, and walled us off in Memorial Park, would we not resist? Of course we would. This is about occupation. Please, I hope the rest of the council will educate yourselves, look beyond CNN and New York Times, follow Palestinians in Gaza. Every day I see the most horrific pictures I've ever seen in my life, and each day the genocide gets worse. Please, we need a ceasefire now resolution. Please, I beg the Maplewood Town Council, I beg our assembly members, I beg our Congress people, I beg our senators, we need a ceasefire. Please, please. It's really desperate. It's horrific. This is not right. We should stand against genocide. Silence is complicity. Please, ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Any other raised hands?
I am moving over Zoe to public portion. Zoe, you're now on public comment. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. First off, I just want to say hello, my name is Zoe. I am not a resident of Maplewood or South Orange, but I live in your neighbor, West Orange. And so as such, I felt moved to come speak here. I, first off, am 17 years old. I attend West Orange High School, where we have also been exposed to the opinions of Zionists in our town. Unfortunately, West Orange has a large population of Zionists. And as a Jewish person myself, the descendant of a Holocaust survivor, the conflict happening overseas to me is not a conflict, but history repeating itself. And I think at this point, there is no convincing Zionists, pro-Israel people of the need for a ceasefire. The only thing that we can do is lay out the facts and evidence. We can show them the photos of children under rubble crying for help. We can speak the names of the martyred Palestinians. We can do all of this, but what we cannot do is show them that Palestinians are worth living. And I feel like, just as a Jewish person, as someone who thanks my great-grandmother, my bubby, every day, the oldest of 7 siblings and the only one to make it out of that genocide, I thank her every day for her strength, and I just mourn the fact that we do this, the world does this again, and the world does not learn, and we do not learn. And I just can't understand how Jewish people feel that there is justification for this genocide. Jewish people, I urge you, please, please open your eyes. And I hate to compare, but imagine that it was Jews being bombed right now. The thing that you are afraid of is happening to somebody else. And because it's not happening to you, you don't feel the need to speak up about it. That makes no sense to me. And so I come from West Orange on the Zoom call tonight. You know, I'm a high school student, so I'm supposed to have school tomorrow. I come here at almost 11 p.m. to tell this to you because it is so important and it is multi-generational and it is not, there is no gray area. This is black and white purely. This is life or death, and we need to do something about it. Ceasefire now. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you for joining us from West Orange. Any other hands raised?
If any other members of the public would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. There are no other hands raised, Mayor.
Seeing none, we will close the public comment and I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca? Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor? Daffis?
Yes. All right. Good night, everybody. Happy holidays. See you on the 1st.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good night.
Thank you for those kind words. Very. Oh.